another session of agency training. Session, more than anything else, is designed for agency owner, people starting out their agencies, freelancers and stuff like that. And it's obvious if you go to email marketing that you have some sort of attraction to automations. Why is that?
When I first started learning email marketing, I didn't even know automations were a thing. And obviously, if you don't know about something in marketing, or even if it's an option within any career, because obviously you can use automations in multiple businesses, and that would be something that would be encouraged. The main sort of pros of automations on the email side, especially for, let's just take ecom for example, is literally you're setting these things up and then you're generating money on demand. It's the money aspect. It saves time, gives you more money. Why not have them?
In my perspective, automation is everything that is automatic. So it doesn't necessarily needs to be complicated flow or a multi-tier Zap with different platforms and stuff like that. It could be a basic correspondence. It could be an app that triggers an automated experience on the website. It could be many things. But the thing about automations, it saves us time, saves us labor, and it brings us more revenues.
It wasn't necessarily what got me into it. It wasn't, Zapier to say, just because of the possibilities with Zapier is just endless. You have to understand, automations, I think you never automate a process you don't do once manually. And once you understand, okay, cool, step one, I get a file. Step two, I open the file, and let's say you're trying to clip something, right? You can build sequences that now save hours of time through Zap. You pay $1, and it just triggers a bunch of apps to do it for you. So the reason why I like automations is, everyone's trying to figure out how to make more money. But if you figure out how to automate the back end, you end up saving money, which to me is just as impactful as making money.
It's pretty trivial, but do you think you can compete as an agency without automations in your business and as a service?
If you think that you can be successful, maybe if you're a one-person agency, but even then, I still think it's beneficial to use automations no matter what. At the end of the day, they're tools to be used, right?
As a service, everything needs to have a purpose. I'm not saying automations is bad, but oftentimes you see this trend was picking up, and the same as we're going to see with the AI agencies and the AI consultants and all that. You just have to have this purpose. So to me, you have to have automations in order to be competitive.
You're basically selling a one-off service because you're going to automate yourself out, right? So, if there's automations we need to build, I think what Ross and your expertise with building, automated sequences, that's sure, but you're not automating yourself out that job, because these are kind of processes you're setting up. And once you set up the flows, it's all right, now I move to the next part. So there's definitely foundation that needs to be set, that saying, hey, I'm going to automate your entire marketing. You're not going to need me anymore. That is the worst offering ever. It makes very little business sense.
If I ever hear an agency say it's a one and done, you just need automations and nothing else, I immediately think that they're a fake agency.
How to build an automation, it's still it's the personalized experience for the customer.
I really do think it comes down to actually understanding the customer journey, but not only that. So it's what journey does the customer take? How do we get them to the goal? What is the current business model, and how is that going to affect the customer journey and the offerings and the angles that we're hitting them with? I think you have to have a deep understanding as to who you're targeting and the variables within that sort of larger segment. Every decision that you make within an automation, there has to be a logical thought behind it. There has to be a hypothesis.
Yeah, really just understanding, especially when you have a team. It's a lot easier to build automations when you have a team, because you just kind of step back and look at everybody's day-to-day, what they're doing, and the sequences of tasks. Without a doubt, building workflows. But yeah, you build a workflow and figure out what events are happening, and then you look at that and see all right, cool, are these custom behaviors that are actually happening, or are these just reoccurring processes? A lot of these things that are happening in between, I guess, the flows in your automation, your workflows really are behaviors and actions. So these behaviors end up triggering sequences, and just figuring out where it can actually be replaced with software so that, I think the most important resource you have besides time is humans and the people that are working on your business. So if you can save them time, you could effectively allocate them to better positions.
Usually, if I'm going to do an automation, I'm not going to build the automation on the platform, because that's, I feel like it's taking a step too fast. You really have to think about what the journey is, if certain things that you're going to do are applicable for the person that is actually, experiencing the automation. So this is obviously an ecom one, just for an example. But you can use this in B2B. You can use it for your internal operations as well. It's kind of the same concept. So green box, place order, this is what you would say is the trigger. So when somebody places an order on the site, within automations, like it's, a good idea to put in delays as well if it's applicable. So we always tend to do a delay of 5 minutes with post-purchase. It just kind of builds a bit of anticipation. So then you'll find we have the red boxes. So for me, I always choose red for conditional split. This basically takes the user down the customer journey based on certain parameters. So in this case, the parameters are if they have placed an order once, twice, 3 times. These are obviously like different points in the customer journey where they've purchased, and you want to communicate with them in different ways.
End result is that oftentimes with advanced automations, customer gets more personalized experience with company. This is like, I can't stress it enough, because once you have something like this set up, this is a money-making machine.
This flow is basically based on this zero-time customer segment. We're going to follow up with them and try and get them converted. So it's like whenever you see an issue on an account or within your own processes, just think about what the outcome would ideally be and anything that you can directly control to actually impact that.
So setting up those basic automations is critical. Otherwise, you're just going to have so much demand on our customer service side. On all those tools for automations, what's your favorite and what you're looking at?
Okay, apart from the obvious, Klaviyo. Okay, maybe we should break it down actually. For email, like marketing, Klaviyo. For B2C, that's creme de la creme. If you're just starting out, or if you can't quite justify affording Klaviyo, I would go for Omnisend. If it's B2B, Active Campaign's always good. HubSpot, those kind of ones. If you are doing cold email instantly, if you're doing project management, ClickUp, I will say even our agency has way more to get into with the ClickUp automations. What's creme de la creme? It's like the best of the best. Zapier for various things. I will say Zapier is quite good if you have 2 platforms that don't necessarily have an integration and you want something to happen between them.
So Shopify for going to ecom.
Oh, I mean, Zapier for sure. I'd use ChatGPT to understand your workflows. ChatGPT has a plugin called Show Me, where you can talk to ChatGPT and actually tell it to build you a workflow. I don't use Make or Integrately, which are Zapier alternatives. You're going to hear a lot of people try and push you those. My bad experience with them was that I built everything. I got, in the beginning days, I remember sending it out, and I had, kid you not, like 10,000 automations for free every month because of all the referrals that I got. They just comped me free automations monthly. And then when I went and looked at all the flows a month later, I was just like, this isn't triggering. Why isn't this triggering? This isn't. So I was like, this is what I get for betting against on Zapier. It turned out half of those tools were broken. So I always use Zapier for automations. And then, you have things like obviously Klaviyo and those automations, but I truly believe Zapier is, definitely cream of the crop.
So by having those tools and having those setups in the right place, this is not a nice to have. This is your only way to be competitive. Otherwise, you can get a couple of clients to do a good job, but you're running full gas on neutral.
Yeah, I mean, let's just be very clear, guys. I think It's not Zendesk. It's Intercom. Like you could get something like Intercom with ChatGPT and automate your customer service, which is right now probably a no-brainer thing to do. I know there's ChatGPT infused customer service bots. I don't know if ManyChat or or Zendesk offers it already, but that is a great automation that it's probably just like, would you like to add this to your store? Connect store? Yes. Boom. All set up. Right. So there's definitely some really cool AI tools out there. I wouldn't use any AI to automate any customer facing things just yet, unless it's been just like rigorously tested. Just because I don't know about you guys. If you ever had a bad experience with something that's AI and you're just like, I just keep getting BS. I just want to talk to the support. And you never get a hold of support. It's just like, screw this brand. It's lazy and it rubs your customers the wrong way, and it kind of breaks that loyalty. So definitely consider that. But really, on the customer service side, you can really, really do some strong automations there as well.
Yes, sir. And I want to get to Bodo's questions on when to automate a process/task and when not to automate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things to this. So, one, if you've not done it manually yet, don't automate it. And I'm going to talk specifically about like team oriented things. So, when it comes to like projects, if you've got a team that, let's say, it's a new team and they've not been around for years working together, I wouldn't go like crazy, like implementing all of these like really in-depth automations if they're not used to using a certain platform, because that's going to make the learning curve, I feel, a lot higher.
For sure. And look, you always do a process A to Z once manually, like a minimum. Okay. I think the later that you automate, the better off you will be, because then you'll really, once you set up a process or a system, and you'll hear every millionaire entrepreneur talk about systems, because that's honestly how you really scale and get the most out of your organization. But I don't think automating systems immediately makes sense, because it never automates something that you yourself haven't either done yourself or very hands-on in the process, because the last thing you need is just automating like broken flows and broken processes, and you end up losing deals and losing flows thinking you're being efficient, but it just cannibalizes your business and ultimately implodes. I wouldn't automate anything that will deprecate the value. If you think an automation needs to maintain the same level of quality by completely eliminating the time. If you're automating something and it loses quality and you're gaining time, it's like, damn, we could have done a better automation. Automations they should maintain the same level of quality or better, but ultimately give you back your time. So
how do you measure automation success?
The money, not just the money. A lot.
In your case, it is. You're talking about
a lot of the time the money.
That your key KPI is what? Open rate, click-through rate, sale value, right?
But also like unsubscribe and spam. That's a big one. I think people really don't take that into consideration as much as they should. It's like, yeah, it's okay if you're getting good open rates, but if like the majority of the people opening are unsubscribing, then like something's really wrong. But then it also depends on like, maybe I'm sending an email on the flow to get them to sign up to something. So maybe the conversion isn't necessarily the money at that point. Maybe it's getting them into a different list. So it can vary. Most of the time it's money, or saves time, or setting yourself up for a better future.
Yeah, I think, automation, on what I'm experienced on, for sure, the biggest measurement of it is how much time it saves. And if it's a successful automation, I maintain the same exact quality of work. My automations aren't necessarily like revenue driving, like emails and yours, Lawson, but I would say that time is money. So maybe it is money motivated, because that's what the automations do, right? They save you time.
The biggest element that I can say, okay, the automation is amazing, is when I say, damn, how come we didn't do it before? Because when an automation works, business-wise, processes-wise, something like that, you always have that feeling of, wow, how come I didn't do it before, man? Right? So this is like, it's a feeling. It's way more than analytical data, and this is an indication of a killer automation.